Hi there, and welcome to the 10th episode in our Circle2 tutorial series. Today we're going to be making a synced arpeggiated lead sound. And today we're going to be using some features of Circle2 that we haven't used so far, such as the synced oscillators, the mouth filter, and the arpeggiator. Okay, so first of all we initialize the patch, and then we're going to choose our oscillators. And in slot 1 we want an analog sawtooth oscillator, in slot 2 we want an analog square, and in slot 3 another analog square. And the oscillator in slot 3, we want to tune this down by 24 semitones so that this gives us some bass. Okay, now what we're going to do next is press sync on oscillator 1. And what this does is makes this oscillator a slave to the master oscillator beneath it. So now oscillator 2 is restarting the period of oscillator 1, which can give us a bit of a harsher, more metallic tone. And now if we adjust the fine tuning of oscillator 1, it's going to change the texture of this sound as opposed to the tuning. And now we're just going to adjust these oscillators a bit more to see if we can get a bit more of an interesting tone. Okay, so that's sounding nice now. Just going up to the mixer, we will adjust these levels a bit. Okay, so that's sounding cool now. Next up, we will add some noise to the sound. And we'll turn that down a bit. So that thickens things up a bit nicely. And now we'll add some feedback in and assign the keyboard tracking to the feedback tuning. Okay, so that's sounding nice now. Next up is our envelopes, and we want quite a basic amplitude envelope on this, just making sure that we have some release on there to remove any clicks. And now going to our filter envelope, we want a similar shape, just with a slightly lower sustain, so that the sound has some interesting movement over time. And in our filter today, we're going to be using a bandpass filter. And we'll pull the frequency down a bit and push the resonance. Now assigning our second envelope to control the filter cutoff. now we're going to use another LFO to give this filter a sweep. So we'll just turn that on, set that to sync, pull the rate down a bit, and assign that to the filter cutoff as well. Okay, so that's starting to sound nice now. Next up, we will turn on this mouth filter here. And we're going to use a second LFO to control that. And we want that to be quite a subtle effect as well. Okay, and now we're going to turn on some glide for this. Okay, and now going into our effects panel here, we'll start off with some tube distortion, which is going to give us some analog style crunch. And next, using some ping pong delay to give us some stereo width. And finally, just a touch of reverb to polish this off. And you might see that I'm just making some minor adjustments as we go along. And sometimes you need to do this just to ensure that all the parameters are working nicely together. Okay, so finally we're going to go into our Arpeggiator here. And all we need to do is turn this on. And we're going to select sync so that it stays in time with our track BPM. And now any notes that I hold down on the keyboard will arpeggiate. And now I can just adjust these settings here as we go along. And you'll see that this shift here means that the arpeggiated notes are played in varying octaves on the keyboard, and this can have a really interesting effect. Okay, so I think that's sounding really cool now, and that would definitely sound quite funky in a track as well. So I hope you've enjoyed the tutorial today and have enjoyed this tutorial series so far, and we'll catch up with you next time.